Hey moguls, it's Dr. T here, and I'm coming to you with another multi-million dollar mogul upgrade into your higher self, a higher reality, a mogul reality where you're a powerful, wealthy, positively influential person who creates their empire, creates their dynasty, elevates humanity, transforms society, leaves a legacy. And this is what our focus is when we do an upgrade that moguls you on up into a mogul reality. So today we're focused on just helping you understand the challenges and the difficulties that can happen that might get in the way for you and keep you enslaved into the struggle cycle, into the slave system of reality, and really keep you from being that top mogul and being that master of your reality, but may just keep you trapped as that more slave of reality. And I really want to help you with that because there's some shifts that you can make, right? And being more of a slave to the power structure that is in place in whatever society you live in, whatever community, country, reality, uh, unless you're in certain parts of the world where things are much more high frequency, the likelihood is that you might be more in that slave system created by the power structure, which are the elites, the most powerful, wealthy people in the world, and the ones who, while they can do a lot of good for humanity, also really are invested in having power over you, in creating a system that serves them, that essentially utilizes you as supply, enslaves you, distracts you, programs you into participating in reality in a way that benefits them, transfers wealth to them, keeps them in greater and greater power, puts them on a transcendent path where even if they live in a certain country or a certain place, they're operating at a much more higher level of reality. They're more of this like global financial powerful elite who, even if they are running a country or helping run a country, they are not necessarily, excuse me, I'm going to put my puppy up here, they are not necessarily doing so with your absolute best interest at heart. So there's reasons that you might always stay a slave to the system and the power structure because it is designed for you to do so. And I want to tell you about this and why that could happen so you could do something different and transcend that. Because the system has not only been set up since the beginning for you in whatever area of the world you've been developed in or developed yourself in, one location or other locations for the most part, and particularly if you are from the US, or a country that has had a lot of US influence or a country that has had a lot of Western influence, but a lot of countries are this way. The system is designed for the power elite to play by a different set of rules, play the game at a different level, tell you the game of reality is one way, teach you, not to really just to get a job and have a profession, maybe to run a business, but not to like build an empire and a dynasty and keep selling your companies and making multiple exit strategies and making billions of dollars. They're not telling you that. But they're running that game and they're telling you that this is how reality is. Just work hard and punch the clock, be a good boy and a good girl and follow the rules while we break all of them and play a completely different game than we're telling you about. a game where they have a different set of rules. They can break those rules. They can recreate other ones. And when people of the masses start getting more powerful, start learning the game at a higher level, they tend to step in, try to regulate the situation, stop people from getting power, which they could then use against them or take over them or take the throne, as it were. And the truth is, they want all the money for themselves. And there's reasons you might stay enslaved to those power structures. And I want to give you a little bit more insight about that so you can just consider what you may want to do differently. Now, hopefully, you're coming to awaken to the fact that you have likely, if you are in this world at this time, unless you live somewhere that is really high frequency in the world, in a real way, not in a fake way, not in a propaganda way, not in a way that you're told one thing but you know another. If you live in an amazing place in the world that is run really well, that is high frequency, that is pro human, that is doing all these fabulous things, this may seem strange to you, but if you're not, it's important for you to consider really waking up to the truth that all the things that have never felt right to you, that feel like they're working against you, that feel like they're keeping you down while other people are propping themselves up, it's important for you to trust that sense of things and watch this weird layer that has always been present. And I'm finally, came to awaken to this a couple of years ago in my life, having lived in the US most of my life and transcended that reality. There's all this stuff that doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel good, and it feels painful, and you're just told to do things a certain way that actually are painful, traumatic, dysfunctional, stressful, exhausting, and feel like you're just a hamster on a wheel in a prison camp you can never get out of, no matter how hard you try. Um, and it's important for you to begin to trust that feeling. It's important that when you see that, where you go, oh yeah, that's what the way it is. And then you see the programming come over you that says, oh, but that's just the way it is. And you just gloss over it. It's important to know that when things are really bad for you in an environment, and it doesn't matter what the name of the country is or what their branding is about whatever it is, it's important for us in any scenario as humans who are energy beings to, when we feel something is off, wrong, not good for us, dysfunctional, bad environment, things that are being done to us that we may be normalized to, but they don't feel right for us. People aren't fixing the system. People aren't making things better. They're making their lives better, not ours, not yours. It's important to trust that feeling, because for me, growing up in the US, I would just get fed this thing by the people around me. They're like, that's just the way the system is. And you're like, okay, I guess I have to be in this unhealthy system, which I didn't, but that's what I was told. This happens for a lot of people in a lot of countries. So when you're like, this is not right, and this is not good, and this feels off and wrong, just like you would if you were on a date with somebody and you're like, this is not right. Just like you would if you were in a relationship with somebody, you'd say, this isn't good. Just like you would if you were in some scenario where the person was supposed to be your friend and they treated you like shit, you would not technically just say, that's fine, no problem, I'll just be treated like shit. And if you did, it was only because you were so used to being treated like shit from the top down in the world you've been living in the country, in the reality you've been living in the family you've been living in. You could then normalize it. But all the years of my life where it was like, oh yeah, this seems off, this seems wrong, this doesn't seem good, this seems unfair, this seems like this should be fixed, this should be better, they should be teaching us this, they should be giving us that, things should get better. And yet all the years of my life in the country I was living in the US, was getting worse and worse and worse, day by day by day, year by year by year. And then people are just acting like this is still fine. This is the same country. It's the same brand. Just because you made a good brand doesn't mean you made the reality good. In fact, it got more and more painful and stressful. My clients were working as hard as they could on their reality, their families, their partnerships, their companies, and doing well, but still feeling like the whole system was rigged against them, even when they were some of the top earners in that system. And so um even when people were, 7, 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs, still feeling like this is a bad environment, this place is not being run right, the system is not doing what it's supposed to do. And what I'm inviting you to recognize is that every time you've ever felt that way, and then you've overridden it by going, well, that's just the way it is, that is built into the system for you. Excuse me, I got to put my dog over here. That is built into the, excuse me, I've got to toss him over on the plate. That is built into the system for you to say that and just be like, that's how the system is. That's part of the programming. Some might call it propaganda, but it's deep, deep programming in your DNA. And that is for you to keep normalizing it, because that's what they do. They tell you this thing looks bad. It doesn't look good. What they're doing isn't bad. It isn't good. You see it. And then they go, no, this is this. They go, sleight of hand. This is this. And then you start to tell it to yourself. They tell you it's good, even though it feels bad. And then you start to tell yourself it's good, even though it feels bad. This is how all people end up, from the top down, being in a bad container of reality. The bubble is sick, toxic, and damaging to you and traumatizing. And then you wonder why you end up in dysfunctional families, relationships, scenarios, situations, and being treated like shit in your life. And it is because that is permeating every aspect of your reality from the top down. You're indoctrinated into that system to think this is normal, generation after generation. And the likelihood that you will stay in that is very, very high. And I want to warn you about that so you can assess things for yourself, because it is so far programmed deep into your cellular DNA that even when somebody, a system, a scenario, a circumstance, a country, a region, a state, a community, whoever it is treating you like absolute garbage, like a slave, like nothing. It's dehumanizing you. It doesn't care what's happening to you. It pretends it does, but it doesn't. Even when you are being effectively abused, traumatized, extracted from, um, demoralized, degraded, downgraded, poisoned, extracted from. Did I say that? Can I say that again? And totally programmed into a dysfunctional, addicted, low frequency version of your not self, not the person you were supposed to be. And that abuse is happening right before your very eyes, as you're being gaslighted and told this is fine, this is good, this is normal, we're the land of the free, the home of the brave, whatever your country's slogan is. The likelihood that you'll ever get out of it, because it's generations deep in your DNA to have that programming done to you and normalize, and everyone around you's like, that's just what we do. We just do this thing. We get the shit kicked out of us. We get traumatized. We get taken advantage of. And we're told this is normal and to put up with it. And there's nowhere else in the world that's better. That's the gaslighting. That's like being in a relationship. That is, in fact, the seeds of the narcissistic relationship. The person telling you your version, your definition, your assessment of reality is wrong. Them trying to alter your sense of reality, which is the ultimate gaslighting experience, which is creating many narcissists in the world and very many in the US, because that is a top down infiltration of that template. being gaslighted. We're so fabulous. We're so great. Whatever your country is, wherever you are, wherever you came from and moved, or whatever it is, you're being told that. And when you try to protest and say, no, it's this isn't good, I see what's happening, more gaslighting, more love bombing. We love you. This is the greatest place in the world. Everywhere else is scary. Let's pump in the fear. Let's pump in all the fear from all over the place to scare you into going anywhere else and thinking anywhere else exists in the world. That is the very definition of narcissistic abuse syndrome. And the reason most people never leave the narcissist is they are so controlled, or a narcissistic family system, or a narcissistic country system, nation system, is because people are so deeply programmed in their DNA. They are used to having a host, a parasite feed off of them, which is the highest power structure, feeding off of you, getting you to be productive, treating you like a slave, not caring about what happens to you, poisoning you, tricking you, putting crap in your food source, addicting you, getting you to buy things, getting you to go in debt so you are locked in. And now you're beholden, and now you're the bad boy or bad girl, so you have to make it up. And you are so used to that you feel so bad about yourself. You feel so horrible about yourself, so ashamed of yourself. They've programmed you that this is your fault. You're wrong. You're not good. There's something wrong with you. You are a failure because you cannot hack it in that system. And then they don't want you to, they certainly don't want you to go get help. The healthcare is so high, you can't get better. Um, and you are so likely to stay in it generation after generation. The likelihood that you'll get out is pretty much a donut. You're taught to stay with all your dysfunctional family members who are also trauma victims, who are also you're all trauma bonded as prisoners in that system. We call that love, and love is a high frequency that actually feels light and clean and easy. And if you've ever felt love in any of these scenarios, that kind of love feels very, very painful, torturous even. And real love doesn't hurt. And most people in these countries are literally trauma bonded, calling that love, staying together, just surviving together, told that no one else will love you if you step outside of the zone, you step outside of line, and you're told that there's nothing else, no one will want you, you're a complete loser, and the likelihood that you'll get out of there is literally almost zero. Most people will stay in that scenario, even if it kills them, which it typically does. Day in and day out, people are dying in these systems of the absolute worst, horrific, stress induced illnesses. And if they're not dying right away, they're suffering their whole life and feel like they wish they were dead. And that's why a lot of people are committing suicide, because they're like, I'm unsubscribing from this. So the likelihood that you'll get out is really low. And that is also because your programming is so deep that even when you know it's wrong and you should be moving out of that situation, you are too weak, your self-esteem's too low, the fear is too high, you have been completely programmed to stay behind the wall and keep taking that abuse. And even when you know this is not good and it's an abusive relationship, whether it's any kind, including one of your own country, you are taught to stay in that because you're taught that you're never going to be loved. You're taught that nothing's going to ever be better than this. And the complete gaslighting job and warping of your reality and your mind and your whole identity is so deep that you don't even try, and you just settle in and go the long haul and die before you die and never live. And you do that over and over. You do that with your families. You leave each other in it. You leave your kids in it. And the likelihood is that you're never going to get out of it. Now, the good news is that if you really want to, you can always leave an abusive relationship of any kind, including with the location you live in, the state, the country, and you can make a shift. I've done it myself. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever done. It took a lot of transformational capacity. And when you do transform to another place, another location, make a transition, elevate your frequency, get out of any of this kind of stressful frequency, I also want to invite you to know that it will be a transformational process for you to grow into your real self, your higher self, the self that knows, the self that's confident, the self that is at a high vibration, and you will spend some time in your life reprogramming yourself into the person you always could have been and are here to be. I just invite you to know that, because if you've also already made a transition to somewhere like myself, I've transitioned to Dubai. And as someone that has come from a very narcissistically abusive country called the United States of America, it's a lot of transformational reprogramming. And while I'm around expats from all over the world that are doing that for themselves in a new city of very high vibration, there's others on the planet. So you're encouraged to check out wherever it is that you might want to be that will treat you better, and go where you're treated best. And don't let any scenario, person, place, country have you justify someone abusing you and calling it something else. That is the most manipulative thing that could ever happen to you. And, if you have these traumatic signs, as so many humans do, of what is effectively narcissistic abuse syndrome, that's why everybody's depressed, anxious, and has PTSD from living in a system of slavery called their country. The good news is, through a reprogramming process, you can heal, you can overcome it, you can decondition, you can effectively decolonize yourself from being so colonized by the power structure. And if you have any little inkling that you want to get out, at the moment you have that feeling, that is the time to begin making plans and go. And trust yourself. With a lot of things that are happening in this world in different countries right now, it's a very chaotic time of change, where the things that we are thinking will happen and the things that we are used to, like having different freedom and liberties and things like that, we want to know that as this time of transformational change happens, and we are in this transition into the 2027 global conscious change and mutation in our reality field to a new global consciousness, a lot of things are going to be different. And if I were someone in any other country right now, than where I am, which a lot of people are flocking to here in the United Arab Emirates, and I had an inkling that I wanted to move somewhere else, this would be the time to do it. The thought that we're always, wherever we live is going to let us come and go is very naive. If you have already made a move, good job and congratulations for taking those steps. If you are in that process of reprogramming, or are thinking of making a move and want that support and help reprogramming yourself from the trauma experience of your previous country and reality, so you can upgrade into someone that is more of a mogul, that is empowered, that is a leader, that builds a new life, that builds your own empire and dynasty the way you should have always been taught to do if you were given the correct programming, and the one that the wealthy, richest people with all the power and resources the one that they focus on and never teach to you, my company is here to help. So one of the things you can do is subscribe and like this video, subscribe to the channel. There are hundreds of videos that will help you make this upgrade and help you get awakened to what has happened to you and help you on their trajectory of making the decision to shift to a new location, a new area, a new reality, a new community. Or if you have made a shift and you are in a new place, in a new stage of becoming a new version of you, in a new country, in a new reality, and you need that transformative help to become the top mogul leader you can be and be someone that builds out an amazing life, creates a power couple partnership, builds your business empire, and creates a beautiful family dynasty that is multi-generationally wealthy. Our programs are absolutely here for you. So you can start by doing the subscribe, like, and share. Comment that you're ready to transform. You can join our online YouTube community, the International Moguls Club, and follow along. And there's links in the description where you can go and you can make an appointment, do a consultation, and we can have a chat about what your intentions are for a transformation of yourself and your reality. All right, moguls, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care and bye-bye.